right, welcome everybody. Mi Duole podcast episode 22 with Erik Olson. We're grateful for the time he's spent with us. Just a short introduction before we get to all of his great advice about LOTOJA. Erik has been a huge part of the team for the last 15 years. We're grateful to Erik for his sponsorship, his leadership, and everything that he does to mentor younger riders on the team. He's one of our first class of yellow jersey wearers and is just a true leader in every sense of the word, both in the community and on the team. Grateful for Erik, grateful for his leadership, and thankful to spend just a few minutes with him talking about how he views cycling, everything that he does in his life that makes cycling possible, what he's learned from cycling, and especially what he's learned at LOTOJA. He's got a pretty interesting and very enlightening perspective on how to train and how to race and how to be part of this great sport. So all of our thanks to Erik. Thanks to each of you for being part of the team. We've got kit pickup coming up. I make a short announcement about that at the beginning of the podcast, so pay attention to that. That'll be at Sugar House Park on June 8th. It's right around the corner, so get excited. We'll do a team picture. So that's it. We're going to roll into the podcast. Thanks to everybody. Grateful for you and thankful for this awesome team that we're part of. All right. Bye. All right. Welcome, everybody. What's up? Mi Duole podcast. Grateful to have you with us. We're joined today by the General Erik Olson. Grateful to have you, Erik. Welcome.
Thanks. Good to be here.
Jake's here and Spence is here. And before we get started with Erik, just a quick announcement about kits. So Sugar House Park at the Olympus Pavilion, not hard to find. Do not wear a white kit. Do not wear a black kit. Do not wear a yellow kit. Do not wear a kit from 2015. Do not wear a kit from 2018. I will politely ask you to not be in the picture. A 2021 red kit. If you don't have one, dude, people have them. So if you want to be in the picture and don't have one, we'll just figure out a way to get you in a red kit. So don't not come if you don't have one. We'll figure out a way to get you in one of Jake's XXL jerseys.
Don't be that guy or girl wearing the mix and match, okay? We've been very clear. We've got Adam Barker lined up to get a photo, and it's going to be great.
Dude, ABP Photography is going to be there. So we'll do kits. We'll have some new hats, socks, and then sponsors. Chip and I are working on sponsors being there. So it should be fun. Should be a good night together outside, and it's a beautiful place. So anyway, that's it. Anything else? Did I miss anything?
No. Writing's in full effect. So
well, I copy and pasted Erik's bio from his website, and I can't do it. It's too much. It's so, Erik, it's just robust. I might just even ask you what you do for work rather than trying to describe your life. But Erik is he's Generation 1 yellow jersey, which is so awesome. He's one of the prime leaders on the team. We look to Erik for, just friendship, mentorship, even as a financial supporter, as a sponsor of the team. He's a skilled mountain biker, road rider, tactician when it comes to LOTOJA, which is what we're going to talk about a little today. And then some of the fun things that he does that I love to watch, just like the adventure rides that he goes on and just embracing what this team is all about. He's modeled it for years and years. He trains smart, but he's also into suffering. Like Erik knows how to freaking Mi Duole. He knows how to suffer for the team. I love riding with Erik. He's one of the first Mi Duoles that I ever met, along with Chris, and he's an advocate for everything that this team stands for. So grateful to have you, Erik, and happy to spend a few minutes here talking to you about your experience on the cycle team. So welcome.
Thanks, Stu. Good to be here.
Will you talk just a little bit about your life, like what you do? I know you're super busy and with family, career, and everything, but will you just kind of let everybody know what you do?
Yeah, I'm an attorney here in Salt Lake City. I do business litigation, specializing in trial work and business breakup. So that tends to be these days family business divorces. So you've got a family business, people are blowing up and they're starting to hate each other and distrust each other. That's when I get involved. So I do a lot of messy work. I do a lot of trials, and it makes for a real busy life. I also have my hand in a bunch of different volunteer things. I'm on the state charter school board. I volunteered at a charter school in my neighborhood for the last 15 years. And I've been a volunteer small claims judge dispensing justice at the Salt Lake City Justice Court.
That is a great phrase, dispensing justice.
Yeah, I did that for a little while, and then I volunteer as a soccer coach. I teach a class for law students up at the University of Utah Law School. So I got a few extracurricular activities that keep me busy. So as much as I can, I'm trying to sneak out on the bike and get some fitness in, clear my mind with all the stress and worry and heavy things I've got to deal with around the day at the office.
What about how you ride? You're always out. We always see you. How does that work?
You've got to fit it in. And when you're raising kids and you're busy with work and a bunch of other things, you've got to get really creative about when you're riding bikes. And so oftentimes, like all you guys know, it's early in the morning. And I can remember those Saturday rides where we'd get up at 4:30 just to try to sneak in an extra long ride before we had to get back for soccer games.
Yeah.
And that's just what you have to do.
And then we've got notes here, 10 LOTOJA starts, 10 finishes. We're going to talk about that in a sec, but I really like this next phrase. In the spirit for the podium every time. What does that mean?
Oh, in the sprint for the podium every time. So first let me make just a few disclaimers that I think are important. Okay. I weigh 200 pounds.
Okay.
So if there were a Clydesdale category, as there are in running races, which I used to do back in the day, I'd be in that category, and man, I'd hope to win that category every time. Unfortunately, cycling is for the little guys, and so as a big guy, and as a big guy who's really busy, I don't log a ton of miles each year. And we can come back to this a little bit more, but I typically show up to LOTOJA with about 1,200 miles under my belt that year, which is not a lot at all. As you guys know, you're 2, 3, 4 times that typically. And so riding for me is about being smart with the time that I have. But when I do show up at LOTOJA, again, another disclaimer, I'm a Cat 5 guy. I'm not showing up with 5,000 miles under my belt, ready to go compete with the pros, or even with the Cat 4s. I tend not to be. And what I found in LOTOJA, we can get into this more a little bit later, is every competitive start pack is going to have 2, 3, 4 guys who can throw down just a blistering fast time. Every pack is going to have that, unless you're with the cyclo-sportive dudes, and you never know what you're going to get out of that. So I tend to race Cat 5s in LOTOJA, and all the ultra competitive guys on the squad are off doing other categories. But I found a nice formula that works for me, that keeps it competitive, that keeps me motivated, and typically gets me a good, solid time coming out of LOTOJA. So the training you're going to hear about today, again, with that disclaimer, it's not the training that you're going to hear about from Dave Sharp or any of the other masters that we've got on our cycling team. It's a little bit different. It's a little bit unconventional, but that's what I hope to get into a little bit today.
Nice. Okay, now this next section, very important. Erik speaks fluent Italian, so we're going to have a little lesson about the team name before we move on.
Give it to us.
All right, let me geek out a little bit on this. So speaking Italian, when I first hooked up with Mi Duole years ago, I thought, how about that, to take a team name that is old school Italian? So Mi Duole is not a phrase that you're ever going to hear on the street in Italy today. It's old school Italian. I'm talking biblical Italian, Dante's Divine Comedy. old school poetry. That's when you're going to hear this sort of language. And so Mi Duole comes from the verb, the Italian verb dolere. And dolere is and I included in my notes in Italian the definition. It's to do harm to someone, to provoke a physical suffering to someone or something. And the related noun is dolore, which is a sensation of physical suffering. So intense physical pain. And so, English just doesn't really do justice to old school Italian words like this. And so the reason this is so important, and the reason it plays into my training and who we are really as a team, is to learn how to race bikes. You've got to learn how to suffer. Okay. And it's not, again, when you translate loosely Mi Duole to I suffer, it just doesn't do the word real justice. It's not I suffer. It's this causes me to suffer intense physical pain and agony. That really is what the word means. and so that's who we are, right? That's what we do, and that's how we prepare ourselves to be successful on a bicycle. Is we have to learn how to suffer intense physical pain and agony, and how to push through it. That's what we do. That's who we are, and that's the beauty of the name of our team.
That is money. We can
That
stop
was
there.
so good. That
Great
was
podcast, guys.
fantastic.
Man, where was he on episode 1? We should have had him first up. Let's go.
Awesome. All right. I'm going to turn out one more little item here about your BFR, and then we'll turn it over to Chip for a sec. Tell us about BFR.
So BFR, again, we'll sanitize this for the young people listening, means big fun ride. And so this is a creation of Chris Peterson many years ago. Chris, as you know, is just one of the champions of this team and just a pinnacle of the local cycling community. And Chris is the one that introduced me to a road bike years ago. When I started riding bikes, he put me on his old red Specialized that had a sexy pose of some soft porn woman on the stem just to keep you motivated when you were riding his bike.
Yes.
And so Chris, he introduced me to cycling, and he's probably introduced, I don't know how many other dozens of people into cycling. And he really is just one of my heroes. So Chris created this thing called the BFR. And the idea is to come up with some long, excruciating, around the clock, self-supported bike ride, as long and as stupid, and as Chris will say, that's stupid with a double O, as long and stupid as you could possibly come up with. And that's been a bit of a tradition over the years of coming up with some long BFR in the summertime. And there's no better training for LOTOJA than going out on some long, stupid ride like that. And I'm not talking just, 100 miles on a Saturday morning or taking on 2 or 3 canyons. It's got to be through the night. It's got to be at least a couple 100 miles. And it's got to involve some sort of intense suffering along the way for it really to matter. And if it doesn't, then it doesn't matter. So we've done it over the years a few different ways. We've ridden our bikes to West Yellowstone in the rain. We've ridden our bikes to St. George, or from St. George to Salt Lake. And I'm not talking along I-15. I'm talking finding all the mountain passes along the way and just making it as painful as possible. And it's been the best LOTOJA training that really I've ever had. When I've had a BFR in the summertime, it's had me primed and ready to go for LOTOJA when September rolls around. Because when you're out, when you're putting in 400 miles in 24 hours or whatever it may be, it will just prime your body to be able to suffer. And most importantly, to understand that if you can just get through the next half hour, the next hour, the next 20 or 50 miles, your body that feels like garbage is going to start feeling better. It goes back to the that great George Harrison album that he put out after he ditched the Beatles, All Things Must Pass. And that really is my mantra when I'm out on a long suffering ride, is I know that when I feel like crap, if I can keep eating and drinking, I'll get through it and it'll be just fine. And that's something I've learned on these big, long, stupid rides. And it's worked in LOTOJA every single time.
Where do I sign up?
It's an elite group of people that are that stupid.
Wait,
Yep.
you can't,
I don't think you qualify, Jake.
Jake wants to sign up because
Too
on the
smart for
outline here
this.
I'm looking at, it says that in this BFR there's spooning in a ditch in a hailstorm on the way to Milford. What is
Beautiful.
what is that? So good.
Well, so the route that Chris tends to come up with, it takes you out in no man's land in the middle of southwest Utah, west and central Utah, and we had an experience one time. It was a gorgeous day, and we're cruising along from Delta to Milford on this straight road that follows the railroad tracks, and you don't see a soul for hours. And it's starting to get dark. And then a hailstorm came in. It crept over the mountains and just wiped us out. And I think a couple of us were spooning in the ditch. And I was standing there, and we're all in our skivvies. I mean, we're wearing Lycra, spandex. And I'm standing there with my bike, trying to hold my bike up in the air to shield me from the hailstorms. And my body's getting pelted with hailstones. And all I've got is my bike to protect me. And I should have been spooning in the ditch with the other guys who were protecting each other. But instead, I was protecting myself with my bicycle. So the hailstorm passes through. And then we got back on our bikes and just kept pedaling the rest of the way. So we've had some crazy, stupid experiences. I mean, going to West Yellowstone, where it rained the entire time we rode bikes through the night. You're trying to stay awake, and it's raining. That's one of the most awful, but actually entertaining experiences that I've had.
You got to watch Peterson eat the regurgitated Advil. I mean,
yes, that's a beautiful thing, isn't it? Desperate times call for desperate measures.
He talked about it when he was on. So.
Yeah, I remember that.
Oh, that is awesome. Erik, when I started, man, it's been over 15 years. And like you mentioned, Chris Peterson, he introduced me on the team, but you were his sidekick, and I got to know you in the very beginning. And one place where I learned how to train and enjoyed training with Erik and with Chris was Mill Creek Canyon. And as you talked to Erik, he mentioned earlier that he doesn't show up to the end of the season with a lot of miles logged. However, they're very smart miles. And Mill Creek Canyon is one place where Erik knows how to train and spends a lot of time in Mill Creek Canyon. Talk about that a little bit, Erik. How convenient, yet how on point that is for your training each year.
Yeah, good question. Mill Creek is key to my training. Mill Creek's in our backyard. It's our favorite. It's the pet canyon. It's an hour up and much less than that down. But it's a tough hour if you want to make it tough. When I started riding that with Chris Peterson, his whole shtick was the sprintervals. So turning it into a fartlek or interval training workout by sprinting up all the climbs all the way up. That's how I started doing it with Peterson and some of the old guard on the team. and it's turned out to the best. It's turned into the best training you could possibly have. To have a canyon that's got that much variety. It's not just purely uphill like Little Cottonwood, where you just kind of suffer up it the whole time. And it's steeper in places than you're going to find, and it's much steeper than Emigration, for example, which is just kind of a just let's get up it as fast as we can. Mill Creek has the variety that allows you to really sprint up in sections, and doing that twice a week, typically Tuesday, Thursdays, that's just the go-to for me for my weekday rides. I do it a couple times a week, and when I hit Mill Creek, I hit it hard. I try to get as much out of it as I can, whether I'm doing a sprint sort of workout or whether I'm just pounding up it as hard and as fast as I can. And that strengthens the legs better than just about anything. And if you want to add to the pain, like I did this morning, just branch up Porter Fork, and that's a painful add-on, or go do Mill Creek a couple times. So it really is just the perfect all-around cycling workout. It doesn't get any better than Mill Creek Canyon.
Yeah. Those Tuesday, Thursdays were what I would look most forward to, getting to know the group and riding with you, Erik. So those are near and dear to me. And on that same note, the mentors, the friends, the memories that we talk about. I mean, here we are all kind of laughing about these experiences and these tough days, and we have LOTOJA listed here as a as an event that took place. Erik, share with us what the team has meant to you over the years that you've been riding with this group.
Well, the team has meant so much. It's a group of good folks, men and women, who work hard, who train hard, who race hard, but who are just great people. And we've got a lot of folks on the team, and we don't see everybody all the time. There are lots of little subgroups within the team. There's a nice spot you can find to hook up with some folks who kind of meet your training schedule and your training goals. But that really is the motivation. This morning, I didn't hit my bike until 7:30. The reason is there wasn't anything going on. I was lazy, and I dragged myself out the door. What keeps me motivated is when I've got teammates to get out and ride with, and that's what gets me out of bed at stupid early hours in the morning. And even in the wintertime. One of the beautiful things about this team is you got guys like you guys. So Stu sends out an email or a text saying, hey, I'm going to pick up a bunch of Wahoo kickers. If anybody wants one, I got a smoking deal. And how many kickers did you unload that year?
So,
like 25, 30, 40?
In the last 2 years, we've sold over 60.
Oh. So you get the whole team out on Zwift, and you show up for a Zwift team ride, and virtually, just like on the road, you see Dave Sharp right when it gets steep, stand up. You actually see him on your TV screen, just like in real life, just like when it steps up in any canyon ride. You see Dave Sharp go get out in the front of the pack. He stands up, and everybody tries to chase him and hang on. And it's a beautiful thing to be able to have that camaraderie and competitiveness, even on your TV screen. So kudos to you guys to make that happen.
We've even got a yellow jersey now, Erik, on Zwift, virtually.
That's so awesome.
Yep.
That's so cool.
So rad.
That is awesome, Erik. Let's transition into LOTOJA and Erik starting out in 2007.
Yeah, so I heard about LOTOJA from Dave Sharp and Chris, Todd Harris, and some of those guys that did the SNOTOJA year of 2005. And I heard crazy stories about ambulances pulling people off the road who are hypothermic. And I listened to all these stories and I thought, man, count me in. That sounds awesome. I'd been doing ultras, and I'd been running, and I had some knee and back injuries and was needing to get out of something else, or get into something else. I mean, 200 pounds on the trail as a runner is not a great idea. So I thought I'd try out the bike after hearing those SNOTOJA stories. And so I started out in the High Uintas Classic, going and doing the Camas to Evanston race, which is an awesome race that I guess they don't do anymore. And that got me started. And I signed up for LOTOJA in 2007. That was my first LOTOJA. And I'd heard all these stories about it. I was really nervous about what was going to happen. And I got some great tips from Dave Sharp on nutrition and hydration and feed zones and deal with all that. And I put days and days of planning in it, only for race day to come around. And all my times that I told my wife were completely wrong. And she ended up missing me at every single feed zone the whole day. And so it turned into just, I wouldn't say self-supported, but you're going into the neutral feed zones. You're hopping off your bike, filling up your own water bottles. It was kind of a nightmare, but I managed to chase back on and stay with our lead group, and it ended up having a good finish all in all. I was excited about it, and that got me excited to keep trying out LOTOJA.
And then last year you've done 10, right? Okay. If you were going to describe maybe nutrition, I think you've already talked about distance and intensity, but if you wanted to add any more there, you got some notes about distance and how you train. But what about nutrition when it comes to the race?
Yeah, so on training, distance and intensity are key. I know a lot of people would disagree with this, but you don't have to have thousands of miles under your belt to prepare yourself for a race. If you're training smart, you need to make sure that you're getting as much as you can out of rides, and you can still enjoy the social ride. You don't have to be so aggro that you don't talk to people when you ride a bike, or you're always trying to beat your friends. No one loves riding with someone like that. But find opportunities to really pound it and add a lot of intensity to your rides, and make sure for LOTOJA that you're riding uphill. If you're looking for a suffering ride and you're going to go out and do one of these 100-milers around the lake or something, good for you, but it's not going to help you prepare for LOTOJA really at all. You've got to pedal uphill to be ready for that race. But on the nutrition side, what I learned in my trail running days is to practice eating and drinking while working out, and to practice doing it all the time, and to eat and drink real food. If you go out and pace someone, or if you race, if you're that manly or that Studley, the Wasatch 100, you'll get to feed zones and you're eating red potatoes. You're eating chicken noodle soup or broth. You're eating real food the whole time. And I've tried to apply that to cycling, and it's made a big difference. Just training your body to be able to eat regular food all the time and to drink all the time and be able to put it down. Some people have systems where that just doesn't seem to work that well, but to succeed in a long race, you got to be able to eat and drink like crazy. And I found that eating regular food makes a big difference. And that's part of what we do in BFR is we're stopping at gas stations and eating. Well, I'm the one that's eating hot dogs. No one else is stupid enough to do that. But chips and cookies and drinks and hard-boiled eggs and yogurt and all those other things you'll find in a gas station are great when you're out riding a bike. And you got to be able to do that, because there comes a time that one more goo is going to make you puke. So you got to be able to eat good food and do it all the time.
Nice.
That's awesome. Erik, didn't you have a special drink you used to drink on LOTOJA? I remember when we were riding together the one year, you were saying like tomato something. Was it something you like to drink?
Yeah. So what I tend to drink in the bottles, I'll do water. Typically toward the end of the race, I'll do a little bit more water than I would in the beginning, and then whatever energy drink you like, and everyone's got their own preference there. But typically, when I get to a feed zone, rather than pound more energy drink, or I'm sorry, more, whether it's some sort of Gatorade-based drink or any of the other fancy formulas that are out there, I try to drink when I hit a feed zone, 1, caffeine, either Coke or Red Bull, 2, milk. I try to get a milk down in every feed zone, and I try to get a V8.
V8, that's what it
And
was.
V8 is the magic for me on a long ride. It always goes down nice and smooth. It's got a ton of sodium in it. It really doesn't have many calories at all, but on a long ride, man, it calms the stomach, smooths things out. And so often that'll be what I'll have in my back pocket coming out of the feed zone that I'll save up for a little bit later.
That's good.
Nice.
Yeah, I remember we were riding, we just were descending down Strawberry, and then you'd caught up and you're like, oh, I just had a quick V8 drink real quick. That's my pride and joy. That's my secret sauce. So
Nice.
It is. It's worked out. Yeah, it's worked out very, very well. And so what I tend to do coming out of the feed zone is I try to drink as much as I can before everybody gets rolling again. And if I can get, of those 3 drinks, if I can get even 2 of them down right out of the feed zone, and the thought of mixing Red Bull, V8, and milk all at once sounds pretty disgusting, but man, it's miraculous. I tell you. So I'll try to get at least 2 of those down and save the 3rd one in my back pocket for just a little bit later in the ride.
I'm going to name the podcast Red Bull, V8, and Milk.
Mm-hmm.
Weird things must come out of this BFR ride too. I mean, you guys must just try some weird concoctions or something,
Yeah, we do that. We do that.
I want V8 in a bottle. I want to actually see you just.
Oh, it's a miracle. It's a miracle cure. I'm telling you, you'll love it. Try it.
Oh, that's great. Well, let's I get to talk about race tactics obviously with you, Erik, and I've had the pleasure of racing with you 1 year, experiencing it, firsthand, the joy of what it is to race with the legend or the general Erik Olsen. So let me paint this picture for you. So we're obviously it was 2000. Was it 18? No, 17. It was 17.
17. Yeah.
And, I show up to the start line. I'm all ready. I'm talking with my brother, and then, we find out that Erik's in our group, and Erik, like, all of a sudden he brings us all together. He gets us in a little huddle. There's probably 4 of us maybe. And he just starts like, hey, we got to watch this guy. We've got to watch this guy. This guy's really fast. I've looked him up. And so he started painting this picture for us. And I'm like, dang, I didn't even think of looking these guys up on Strava or like doing research on them. But come to find out during the whole ride, Erik is just talking about these guys, and, soon to let it happen, these guys who he was pointing out at the very beginning of the race, actually took 1, 2, 3. So it was, as my brother and us over the years have talked, we've seen Erik and interacted with him. We've kind of dubbed him the general. And as the general name has come about, we've we've loved talking about the general and using some of his terms as we've raced for LOTOJA, the last couple of years as well too. So Erik, tell me a little bit. Tell me this general aspect of how you go about things with LOTOJA and race tactics, especially. But when you talk about knowing your group, getting to know everybody and things like that. Talk about this general mentality as you go into LOTOJA.
Thanks, Jake. That's kind of you. And man, it was a blast racing LOTOJA with you that year. That was so much fun. The way I try to look at it, one, you've got to be the boss. You've got to learn. You've got to learn to be a boss without being a total jerk. Because when you get in a race like that, and again, every category and every start pack is a little bit different. Sometimes you're racing with a bunch of jerks, and it makes everything just horrible. They're not willing to do any work, and they're just looking for an opportunity to screw you over. And those years are the hard LOTOJA years. You just hate races like that. So you want to be a boss, and the reason that's important is if you can have someone step up and just take control of the group, give instructions, rally people to perform, it's just going to make it better for everybody. And I've had examples. Back in the old days, I like to rally the whole start pack for a P break, even going into Preston. And I was, until the race organizers got real agitated about it, it was pretty cool to be able to get 50 guys all together to stop for a P break. And it took going up and down the line and just, barking out orders at people and rallying the group to do that. And that's the kind of thing that I found made for great race years, when you've got the ability to exert a little bit of authority and pressure and encouragement to the whole group and rally them, even though it's a bunch of guys that don't know each other. So I try to show up for the race knowing everybody who matters. And so I kind of anal that way. I'll just research who's in the pack, and in some of the categories, you know who you're up against. All the veterans on the team, they know they're going to have to deal with Schaefer in that Masters 60 plus category. Typically in the Cat 5s, it's a different group each year, but there's some people that surface every year. So I want to know who the real players are going in, because 90% of them are not, and you don't really have to worry about them. And then you hook up with those guys, get to know them, and spend some time with them, and build a little bit of rapport and camaraderie going into the race, because you're going to be hanging out with them all day. And if you can be the boss and rally, you can encourage the group to work together, work hard, and get the best possible time. And you get to the end, and it's each man for himself, but try to be friendly enough and show some leadership, and it'll make it for a great day for everybody. And sometimes that involves yelling at people who are idiots. And I had that happen last year, where there was a guy that right in the first feed zone in Montpelier, we've got, typically at that point, you want to have your pack whittled down to 5 to 10 guys. And there was a guy that decided to attack in that feed zone. So he goes blazing ahead when all the rest of us are stopping, which you do. And when I hit a feed zone, no more than 10, 15 seconds, I put a foot down. My wife, who's my support and is amazing, notwithstanding our snafu that first year, she spreads all my food out on the pavement right in front of me. She swaps out my bottle. She dumps out a ton of food, because I don't know what I'm going to be in the mood for till I get there. I grab a bunch of food. After emptying my pockets, I hit the road, thank my wife, tell her I love her, and I move on and hit the road. And this first feed zone, the dude's already up the road. So we go chase him down, and we get the group back together. I cuss him out about attacking the feed zone. I just let him have it. And, this was with Todd Racker and some other guys last year. And I think Todd probably heard me, and I hope he wasn't offended like the rest of the guys may have been, seeing some of those words come out of my mouth. But the guy was super apologetic. And later in the day, we were able to kiss and make up and actually had a nice ride together. But sometimes you just gotta be the boss and throw down a little bit of authority to rally the group to race the right way.
That's
and
great.
It works out.
Yeah, that's great. I remember a few times just in the peloton, you'd ride up to the front, tell the guys to pull back a little bit. I mean, if you've ever seen if you can ever race with Erik in LOTOJA, please, it is the most fun. Just be a sponge and soak it all up. There's one more story I like to share, and Erik, you can remember this. Is we were just about to start the strawberry climb, and obviously you flatted, right? And you pull over, hey Jake, I flatted, but you said this one thing, I'll catch you guys in Montpelier. And I was like, there's no way he's going to catch us in Montpelier. We're no joke 2 miles out from Montpelier. Here comes Erik right behind us. And he caught up to the group. He closed this gap, which I could not believe he did it alone. I mean, I wasn't there watching you close the gap, but to me, it was a beautiful thing to see. Guy go down flat and then catches back up right before Montpelier. And it was just something special to see. So thanks, Erik.
That was cool. That was a fun day. That was a fun day. That's my second LOTOJA flat, and they always come at the worst time. But that climb up Strawberry, it's not a hard climb. It's not that steep. It's kind of long, but that's the kind of climb. The 4 to 6% is the climb that suits my strengths. My problem in LOTOJA is when you get to the 7 to 9% climb, like you've got over Salt River. That's the one that causes me a lot of difficulty, because at my size and with the amount of training I do, it's really tough to hang with everybody going over Salt River.
Yeah. So what's your plan? Are you thinking to yourself, I got 100 miles to catch? Is that kind of the strategy?
Yeah. Last year I wasn't able to catch the guys. Todd and a guy named Mark Smith, who's just an incredible racer. I raced with him several years ago in LOTOJA. We're in the pack coming over Salt River, and I just couldn't catch him. And it was the first time I wasn't able to catch the main group coming off of Salt River. Typically, I can catch them by the time we get to Afton. One year, I had a tandem bike pass me by coming off of Salt River, and man, it was like an answer to prayers. They were going so stinking fast, and I was back to the group in no time. It was such a special day. So sometimes you have good luck, sometimes you have bad luck, but for me, if I can stay with the pack into Star Valley, I'm set, because with all the rollers at my size, I can just pound it the last 100 miles.
Just be the boss.
Be the boss. That's right.
Be the boss.
All right. Any more feed zone tips? You've got some good stuff here.
Yeah, you've just got to. It takes a lot of planning, but at the same time, you don't need to do crazy stuff like musette bags. You can find a way to make feed zones super quick. You shouldn't spend more than a half minute in a feed zone. You got to get in and out as quickly as you can. And it may give you an opportunity for a quick pee break coming out of it if you're super quick going in.
Yeah.
You've got to be really careful. Now they've made some changes in LOTOJA. So starting last year with COVID changes, where you've got some feed zones where you've got the competitive racers and the non-competitive folks all on the same course, some going through the same feed zone, but not necessarily stopping. And we had some very close calls coming out of one of those last year, where we had some cyclo-sportive guys that were just cutting across and all over the road as we were just trying to get through it. So you got to be careful getting through feed zones. We've had some real injuries, nasty injuries on our team in years past with feed zones. But I try when I hit a neutral feed zone to snag as many hand up bottles as I can. That's made a big difference to be able to try to get a couple going into those feed zones. If you can get 1 to 2 bottles out of a neutral feed zone, you're golden. It's going to give you the fluid you need to get through the race.
Nice. All right, let's come in for a landing here with pitfalls.
Yeah, so I've had, as I mentioned, I've had 2 flats in LOTOJA, and when that happens, man, you just got to suck it up and deal with it. My first flat was on the way into Preston, and you're in a pack of 50, 60 riders, and you hear that sound coming out of your tire, and you're just devastated. So I pulled over, I changed it as quickly as I could, and early in the race, my hands are bloodied because it's 35 degrees outside as I'm changing a tire, and my pack's gone, the next pack's gone, the next pack's gone. It seemed like by the time I finally got going, and I just spent the whole day just passing people, just completely solo, trying to make it work. And every now and then you'll find some folks to hook up with. So the secret there is to keep a good attitude. Remember, if you work hard, the tough times will pass. You'll be able to get through it. But you got to just battle and get back. And I think that year I made it back to 7th place. Almost got back to the podium, guys. Didn't quite get it that year. So that was my slowest LOTOJA and a rough one. But it happens sometimes. It's important just not to panic, not to quit, but to suck it up, deal with the problem, and find a way to push through it.
Nice. What about, you said maybe that's a good advice here. New tubes, new tires. What do you do right before the race day?
So I think starting LOTOJA with brand new tires is a bad idea, because a new tire is so hard to change. Yeah. And unless you're throwing an extra set of wheels in the wagon for a real problem, which some people do. I've never done that. I've never really seen a need for it. And typically there's someone who can at least stop and help you, which is what happened that year at Strawberry, Jake. Was there was a guy that at least pulled over and was able to pump my tire as I was getting everything back together. That was a huge help, but I still had to change it on my own. So I try not to go brand new tires. I try to at least have a few rides in my tires, but you definitely don't want to be running the old Connie 4000 where you can't read the 4000 because it's been worn out for all your rides. You better make sure that it's a fairly new tire, new tubes. Make sure you've got a couple rides in them at least, and that's going to make a big difference. But flats happen, but they're way less likely to happen if you're smart going in.
Dude, Paul Watson even pumps no flat stands in his tubes before the race, like a tiny bit of sealant.
Yeah, I've heard that. It's a good idea. Every little bit counts. I'm running tubeless now, and that's been way more reliable, far less likely to flat. And going tubeless with a little bit wider tire has been awesome. I tried that last year in LOTOJA. It seemed to make a big difference.
Nice. A point of stress, maybe P brakes. Any advice there?
Yeah, so the organizers they're getting real tricky that way with P brakes. My favorite P brake is coming out of Preston right before the first big climb out of Preston. Not big climb, but that first big hill coming out of Preston, a couple miles.
Yeah.
We tried that last year. I've done it several times, and you've got enough room since you're going uphill if you stop at the base to be able to chase back on. And then after that, right out of the Montpelier feed zone, if you can get through that really quickly, it's a nice spot to just pull over on the side of the road before you head up Geneva Summit.
Yeah.
And I'm not one of those guys that will wet myself in the chamois on a road bike. I just don't swing that way. Some do, but it's not for me. I prefer my urine to be on the side of the road, in the grass, or on a tree.
What about a diaper? What about a diaper?
Man, I just don't swing that way. Some do, but it's just not for me. So if I can plan those 1 or 2 P breaks, that tends to be enough for the whole race. And then I monitor my fluids that it seems to be all right until the finish.
Nice. Very good. Hey, well, as we wrap up, Erik, we usually ask everybody if they have anything else that they would love to share as just advice, general life lessons that you learned from riding a bike. It doesn't have to necessarily be cycling advice, but anything that you would share with like a younger group, or just what you've learned.
Yeah, I guess going back to something we said in the very beginning, my advice to the young riders that I see on the team is, while it's virtually impossible for people these days with a career, with a family, with recreational activities and fitness, to have total balance in life, try to make sure that you're not out of whack in any one area or any one activity in your life. Again, you're never going to be in balance, but try not to be out of whack in any one area. And what I mean by that is don't be so all into cycling that you're dropping balls at home, at work. You're not seeing your kids. You're not doing things with your kids. You're not volunteering in your community. There's time for everything. You just need to be smart about how you fit things in. And every now and then you have to reassess and ask yourself, where am I out of whack in my life? And make a few adjustments in that area. And if you're getting way too many miles on your bike, you're spending way too much time with your guy friends, maybe make an adjustment here and there and change things up a little bit. And that really is the key to being able to maintain a happy home life and a successful career, and to keep yourself fit and just generally emotionally healthy and happy. That's what's worked for me. And it's never perfect, but that's what keeps me rolling.
Money.
Amen.
Nice, Erik. You're the man, dude. So awesome.
Are you riding
Well,
LOTOJA
guys,
this year?
thanks. No, I'm not. I'm down to every other year, if at all. And I say if at all. I'm waiting for one of my kids maybe to drag me into LOTOJA, or someone else to invite me who really wants to do it. So I'll be back. I'll be back out there one of these days. Peterson and Jim Hutton on the team are going for number 20 this year.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
So, kudos to the veterans, kudos to the young guys who are getting out and doing it. I'll be out there again here one of these days, just not this year.
Yep.
Hey, if you buy the tandem, I'll do it.
That'd be awesome. One of these days.
Bucket bite. The Madsen.
Yeah, I get the bucket.
Yeah.
Thanks, Erik. We really appreciate
Erik.
you, man. You are just the best. Thank you.
Hey, thanks, guys. Great to be with you all today. All the best.
Thanks, Erik.
Thanks, Erik.